Welcome to Nice Ashes. I'm Nate.
And I'm Mike. What are we smoking today, Nate?
We are smoking, and I don't think I've ever smoked an Espinosa cigar before. But this is no regular Espinosa cigar. This is The Dude. And I should mention that this is a sponsor stick cigar from one of our listeners, Matt. So he provided us with two The Dudes. And we thought, gee, we just came off a bowling episode, or a heavily themed bowling episode with Jordan. And Mike just couldn't resist. We had to do two in a row. So we're going to do The Dude by Espinosa and talk about the Big Lebowski and also probably the movie starring Maud Lebowski, Gutterball.
Yeah.
I should also mention Mike and I had a little bit of a picture photo contest with each other and for the episode's cover art. And I'm not sure which way we're going to lean. Mike's pictures are phenomenal. However, they don't feature the cigar as prominently as mine. So we'll see which one we end up going with. But they'll both be on Instagram. So check out the Instagram. Will have all the pictures that were, not all the pictures that were taken, but, you know, the highlights from the photo contest that we did informally. And there is no winner because we're winning if we get to smoke a cigar and drink.
That's
Speaking
right.
of drinks, Mike, what are you pairing your cigar with?
Well, I have a refreshing glass of ice water as well as a Caucasian. How about you, Nate?
I have a double Caucasian because I wasn't about to bring my little mixing bar out to the garage. So I just poured a double. But
Yes.
It's also known in some circles, don't know these circles, but some circles it's also known as a White Russian.
Yes. I would also like to say, for those who are looking at the pictures, it is the exact same one that I had in the pictures as the one I'm having right now. So
Nice.
Yeah.
For those of you looking at the pictures, the White Russian in my picture is not actually a White Russian. It's a bit of leftover coffee and water and then the splash of cream and a couple ice cubes because I took my picture earlier in the day to get the light. So I wasn't about to slam a White Russian on the clock, if you know what I mean.
Yes. I took my pictures after I was done with work.
I took mine while on a conference call, so what do you do? But you get to see one of Mike's bowling balls, and my bowling ball, I only have the one, but both of our rugs. And dare I say it, Mike, our rugs are eerily kind of similar with the vibe. You know what I mean?
Yep. I picked, we have several rugs, and I picked the one that looked the most like the Big Lebowski rug.
Yeah, we have the one rug that's like in a pot, you know, like folded up because we're not sure what we're going to do with it yet. So I grabbed that one. First couple puffs, this is a spicy stick, man.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's very light, but it has a lot of depth to it.
Yeah. I'm going to take my first sip of my Caucasian and see if that how that affects it. Well, I think it's going to be a good pairing with the White Russian and the cigar. I'm sure the people at Espinosa took that into consideration when making a dude-themed cigar. What are people who like the Big Lebowski going to be pairing this with?
That is actually a pretty good pairing. That's a W for them.
Yeah, that's it. Call the episode. Big W. Thanks for listening, everybody. Yeah, so it was fun because we talked about doing this, and we've had the cigar for a little bit now. A few months, I suppose, or a month. I don't know. It's hard to remember. And I was really looking forward to revisiting the Big Lebowski because I've seen it many, many times, but I just haven't seen it recently until watching it again for this episode.
Sarah and I watched it 2 years ago, so it was a little fresher in the memory.
Yeah.
But usually I don't watch movies critically, which I do for the show. So it's a different experience.
But also it's the Big Lebowski, so I wasn't being super critical about it, but I was trying to pay attention so I'd have things to talk about, you know, outside of all the catchphrases and things, which are awesome, by the by.
Oh, yeah. I did partake in some festivities when I watched it, so I wanted to be in the right frame of mind. So,
well, that's like your opinion, man.
That is a great line. Oh my. That is like legit.
I love how he's like mostly like nonplussed about everything that's happening, except maybe like the ferret in the tub.
The ferret in the tub definitely harshes vibe. Also, pissing on his rug. He was more angry about pissing on his rug than
Yeah.
almost
Yeah.
anything else.
And he was angry about Walter pulling out his pistol.
He was pretty mad about that, too.
He was a little upset about that. and the toe, when the toe showed up.
Yeah, he was concerned. So how do we want to open this up? I mean...
Well, I was going to suggest we both take pictures in like bathrobes. But then I didn't really want to get my bathrobe all, cigar smelly and have to wash it again. So I kind of didn't do that. But outside of the narration from Sam Elliott, that's pretty much how it starts, is he's like in his bathrobe getting half and half or heavy cream or something. I put heavy cream in mine.
He did, in fact, buy half and half. That's why I bought half and half.
Yes. I bought heavy cream because that's what the internet told me.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, though, on a personal note, I much prefer the Black Russians just because I think the cream is a little too much typically. But again, the cream really sweetens this up and makes it pair with this cigar very, very nicely.
Right. I used a vodka-based Kahlua, and it is boozy for sure.
Yeah.
For
Mine,
sure.
I got I think it's rum-based. So.
Okay.
It's also boozy. But I poured a double, and then I think we'll be good by the time we get to the end of this episode. I have to not drink this too quickly because White Russians are easy to pour down the old gullet there. So
yeah, they're definitely headache makers.
Yes. Headache for the guy editing the episode later makers for sure. Yeah, man. I guess I don't know what you would even kind of call the Big Lebowski. It's almost like a fairy tale kind of, the way the Sam Elliott, the narrator, kind of pops in and out.
Right. I would call it a detective story that has comedic elements and also fantasy elements. For sure.
Yeah, and it's almost like a slice of life, maybe, of like that generation, But yeah, so it kicks off the bat pretty quickly. You get the narration, then he's shopping for his half and half, and then I think it's right then when he comes home, the rug gets peed on.
It is, right away.
It doesn't really wait around to get going, which is nice. And the whole confusion for those who haven't seen it is Jeffrey
Lebowski.
Sorry, Jeff Bridges, the actor, is playing Jeff Lebowski, but there's another Jeff Lebowski, and the Jeff Bridges character goes by The Dude, or the Duderino, and various other forms of that.
His dudeness.
And these goons are trying to shake down Jeff Lebowski, who is not the Dude Lebowski. So the name of the movie, The Big Lebowski, comes from the wealthier Lebowski. The one who is not living in a shithole apartment that people could break the door down in quite easily. So then he goes to seek retribution for the rug being peed on because obviously you can't have that anymore.
Well, because his bowling team convinced him it was a good idea to go seek money for the rug getting pissed on instead of just cleaning the rug.
And it wasn't really his bowling team. It was Walter, John Goodman, who convinced him, who's a Vietnam vet and a Jew because his ex-wife had him convert to Judaism. And he doesn't roll on Shabbos. So
no, he does not roll on Shabbos.
But so I think if you watch the first time when he's telling Walter and Donnie's played by
Steve Buscemi.
Steve Buscemi, and he's telling them, and Walter convinces the Dude to go and seek retribution for his rug because obviously the Big Lebowski has money if he's being shaken down for money, So that was kind of the thought process.
Right. That's so funny.
It's so good.
It is. Well, it's ridiculous on the face, but the nihilists, there's 3 nihilists, and these are the guys that beat his door down. And
well, we don't even know if they're nihilists.
We know that they're nihilists because they say they're nihilists later in the film.
Say it.
That's actually their character name if you look at the list of characters.
The credits, yeah.
So Nihilist 1 is one of the guys from Fargo, Steve Buscemi's partner in crime. I think he's like a Shakespearean Northern European actor of some variety.
Okay.
And then the nihilist number 2 is Flea.
Yeah, Flea.
And then nihilist 3 is like some random guy. I don't know who he is.
I mean, probably not random, but
probably not.
Somebody
not
that
random.
Mike and I are not as well aware of or well acquainted with as the other two. So, but yeah, so basically, kind of like it just kind of follows all the events that happened because the rug got peed on, and because Walter convinced the dude to try and find the other Lebowski to get a new rug. And Philip Seymour Hoffman is the Big Lebowski's like personal attendant or something, or like butler or housekeeper,
secretary,
secretary,
whatever,
some kind of administrative role. The Big Lebowski is in a wheelchair, disabled.
Yes.
Right, because that was one of the funny lines when he's looking at all the pictures on the wall. Philip Seymour Hoffman showing the dude all these awards that the Big Lebowski has won, and he was like, "Oh, is he disabled? Yes, he is disabled."
Yep. They have a couple inappropriate jokes in the film. It is rated R,
as you would expect from this comedy team.
Yes.
They also continue their trope of Steve Buscemi's character dying and being in smaller pieces than the previous film.
Yes.
So, but we'll get to that in a bit. But then on his way out, he basically gets called a loser by the Big Lebowski because he doesn't have a job. He shows up wearing his everyday clothes that the dude wears, which is, some variation of like a sweater or cardigan or bathrobe. And these really funky looking sandal things. Jellies. And I knew Mike would know. I
did know, sadly enough.
And so he kind of gets a dressing down by the Big Lebowski because, of course, he's like in a suit and tie, and he's like, I worked for all my stuff in my life. And so on the way out, he meets the Big Lebowski's wife, who is got to be, 40 years his junior.
Right. So his wife is played by Tara Reid, and this is Tara Reid circa 1998 Tara Reid.
Yeah.
So she's in her early 20s, I'm guessing. And the Big Lebowski's supposed to be in his 60s.
Yes.
So, and Bunny, fun fact, is from Moorhead, Minnesota. We find out later.
Nice. Yes.
Which plays in because she offers to suck the dude's dick for $1,000.
Yep.
Immediately.
Yeah, right upon meeting. Well, actually, first she wanted him to blow on her toes.
That is true.
Painting her toenails, which is excellent foreshadowing because they use the same color paint on the toenail of the toe they send to the dude or the Big Lebowski, whoever ends up getting it initially. But it winds up with the dude is the point. And it has the same shade that Bunny was painting on, which led the dude to believe it was Bunny's toe, and Walter wasn't buying it. But that comes a little bit later in the film. So she's already trying to be overtly sexual to any man that isn't her husband, basically. Oh, and she had a higher fee if Philip Seymour Hoffman's character watches. Watches her suck the dude's dick. So what did he say to her? He goes like, well, let me just go find the nearest cash machine or something like that.
Something like that.
Of course, he doesn't have, like, and I don't know how many people, like, it's not really a part of the movie that you remember, but the dude's landlord comes by in the middle of this or in some part of this film earlier on and is like, hey, you don't even know he's the landlord yet. And he's asking if the dude will come see his like interpretive dance performance. He's like, yeah, my dance performance is, and the dude's like, yeah, I'll come see it, man. And then he goes, oh, and by the way, rent, so obviously the dude doesn't have the $1,000 or whatever it is to have Bunny suck his dick.
No.
Which I think we know before he goes over there or something, right?
Oh, we definitely knew. He had like a 1970s Cadillac, maybe.
And he wrote a check for like 62 cents for his half and half.
Yes, he did.
The very beginning of the
film. Yes, he did. I forgot about that. Oh, my.
Can't even write checks hardly anymore, which is fine by me.
Oh, I still write checks all the time.
Too much writing all the time.
Oh, literacy, it's bad.
Just
believe what they tell you.
Plug me into the big Neuralink and let me scan my noggin to pay. Anyway, we're not talking about Neuralink. We're talking about the Big Lebowski. Where do you want to go from there, man? I guess Bunny gets kidnapped. Or the Big Lebowski believes Bunny gets kidnapped.
They believe that she gets kidnapped, and then he receives a ransom note for $1 million. Now, this is the first clue that something's going on, because the Big Lebowski finds our friend the dude and convinces him to hand over the $1 million for a finder's fee, which was $20,000, I think. Something like that.
Yeah, it was something like 10% of it. So it was not a small chunk of change, but...
Right.
It was not a small chunk of change for the dude, but, you know, you would think...
It was worth it for the dude.
And probably only the dude.
And only the dude. So he shares this information with his bowling team. And Walter, the thorn in everybody's side.
Is he wrong, though? Is he wrong?
He's not wrong. He's not wrong. Walter is convinced that Bunny kidnapped herself and that it's all bullshit and that anybody could have cut a pinky toe off. And that
he's like, you want a pinky toe? I can get you a pinky toe by this afternoon.
So he fucks up the money transfer, and of course the nihilists run away with the money, which I suppose we don't really know that they're the ones doing it yet.
No, but everybody kind of assumed it was.
Yeah, everybody assumed it was.
Like, some new shit has come to light, man. You're not privy on the new shit. No, but that's kind of the whole thing is like Walter has, what does he call the other bag? The bag with like his dirty underwear in it.
Yep.
He makes a bag with dirty underwear and they're going to throw that out the window instead of the real bag. And they end up throwing the fake one out, I thought.
They did. They threw the fake one out, but they never checked what was in the real bag.
No, because it was in the trunk and then his car got stolen.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yep. His car got stolen by a 15-year-old.
Yeah, for a joyride. And some homeless man used it for a bathroom or something when he picked it up at the impound lot. But the thing was gone, but nobody was really overly concerned about that. And so they came to realize that what was in the original one was also fake, like newspapers or phone books or something.
Right. Well, they came to that conclusion because the dude was kidnapped again by Maud Lebowski, the daughter of the Big Lebowski. The daughter of the Big Lebowski,
who's still got to be 10 years or more Bunny Lebowski's senior, right? Because they even mentioned that somewhere in the film. I don't remember how much older, but it's Julianne Moore.
Yeah, Julianne Moore in real life is older than Tara Reid by 10 to 15 years.
And she's the one playing people their own age. Maud Lebowski.
Yeah, she's the one playing Maud. Fun fact, one of Maud's buddies was the actor that played Remus Lupin. He was the filmmaker that kept on laughing for no reason.
Oh, sure. Yeah. That was hilarious.
Oh, my God.
And what a great, like, introductory scene where the dude is there and he's, like, walking down this kind of, like, dimly lit hallway and there's a big kind of canvas propped up kind of on the floor and then there's, like, screams and Maud's, like, naked with paint coming over him on a zip line.
Yep. So she's clearly a weirdo.
Well, yeah, I don't know that there's anyone in here that's not a weirdo. But we should mention, though, all this is happening. So the dude's in all of this stuff, right? But also, the dude, Donnie, and Walter, their bowling team made like the playoffs or the finals or something.
They're in the playoffs.
League match.
Yeah.
They're in the playoffs, yeah. And so this whole time, Walter is mildly intrigued by the rug, the kidnapping, and all of this. But even when the dude gets really like worked up, he's like, well, you're still going to make it to league, right? So that's really like Walter's focus in this whole film is I'm interested in this like side stuff as long as it doesn't interfere with league.
As long as it doesn't interfere with bowling. Yep.
Yes.
And he brings his ex-wife's dog because she's on vacation with her husband.
Yeah. And I remember one time, at least once in the film, the dude is like, dude, why do you even have that thing here, man? Like, if it was my ex-wife, why can't she board it? Like, why do you have your ex-wife's? Like, and then, you know, when he was saying he doesn't roll on Shabbos, he made the league change their playoff game because it was on a Saturday and he doesn't roll on Shabbos. And they're kind of like arch nemesis bowler Jesus was like, oh, come on, what's the deal and stuff. And he was a pedophile.
Well, I wanted to bring this up. Was he really? Because it was one of the fantasy scenes, and it was brought to you by Walter. So it's not a reliable narrator.
Is he wrong?
I don't know. He's never really wrong about anything that he says.
He's never really wrong. He's crass about it. He's not polite about it, but he's not really ever wrong because it turns out that the toe wasn't from Bunny. It was from one of the nihilists.
One of the nihilist's girlfriend or a female nihilist, whatever you want to call her.
Yeah, I don't know that nihilists have significant others if nothing is significant.
Right. So, we also missed that the dude is kind of racist because he called somebody a Chinaman. And Walter had to correct him. And then one of the best lines ever was, Walter, man, I'm not talking about somebody who built the railroad.
Yeah, that was...
was that one classic. Of the nihilists? Or I can't remember who he called.
I can't remember who he was talking about. But it was funny as fuck is what it was.
Oh, my God.
Do you want to like keep going through and like get to the end of the movie? And then maybe we can talk about like our favorite scene? Or favorite scenes, or some of our favorite stuff.
Yeah, why not?
And then we've got like a little bit. We got some like trivia stuff, and we can keep kind of talking about the film a bit. By now, like it's an old enough movie that everybody our age should have seen it. No judgment if you haven't. But the younger generation might not have, and the older generation, I guess, might not have too. It kind of depends, because it really did come out in the late '90s.
Yeah, it came out right at the right time for us to watch it.
That was exactly the right time for us to watch it. Exactly the right time. A lot of the kind of like anything, like 80s to maybe early 2000s is kind of really the sweet spot of modern cinema. Like, Tropic Thunder.
Right.
I don't know, Team America. Things that can be offensive and they're funny, but they're funny because they're offensive to everybody. They're not pulling punches. I'm not saying Big Lebowski is offensive to people, but it's not your stereotypical like... the dude's calling people Chinaman. Walter's, obviously using his time in Nam as a grandiose blanket statement to get away with a lot of bullshit,
Right. Yeah, like pull guns on people in league for crossing the foul line.
Yeah. Mark it as 0, Donnie.
Mark it as 0. I would also like to say that this is at like when the movie got released, it was at the heyday of bowling, like league bowling in the 90s.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And it was a huge industry in the 90s. It wasn't until like 2008 when, the dot-com bubble and then 2008 really knocked the wind out of the leagues. But a lot of people were league bowling. Like
when did Kingpin come out?
The mid-90s. It was right around that same time.
So, so it tracks.
Yeah. Bowling was huge.
Not that these two movies are similar really in any way, shape, or form, other than they're both kind of comedies and kind of have, bowling.
They
focus on bowling
and they both have bowling in them.
Yeah. I guess the focus on bowling and Big Lebowski is kind of like the constant backstory and not really at the forefront, whereas in Kingpin, it really is kind of all about bowling and the other stuff is kind of the side story.
Right. Yeah. And, Kingpin had real bowlers in it, whereas the Big Lebowski had actors and things like that, which is fine. Like
I gotta feel like I feel like there was like that one guy though had to have been a real bowler. That kind of
Big Belly.
Yeah, that guy had to be.
He knew how to bowl because they actually showed him bowling.
No, I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, he must have been some, like, bowler guy. I don't know.
Yeah. I can't remember his
just
name.
At the lane. I don't know.
There was a professional bowler that was the, what would be called, like, the film expert on bowling.
Sure.
And he's the one that threw all the balls when you saw the balls roll down the lane. And that's why you never saw any of the actors actually throw a bowling ball.
Yep.
So
not that it's hard to do, but you're making a movie, so.
Right.
But anyway, here's my interesting bit of trivia, or one of them is the only character in the movie, not the only character, right? But the only bowling character in the movie that we don't see throw a bowling ball ever is the dude.
Oh, I did not know that.
He never picks up a ball to go and actually bowl. We never see him bowl in the entire film.
That's hilarious.
He's always just sitting there. Maybe he's keeping score and stuff. Because sometimes he's keeping score, sometimes he's just sitting. But we never see him. Like, we see Donnie with a ball, we see Walter with a ball, we see Jesus with a ball, we see the other Jesus' teammate with a ball. But we never see the dude, pick up his ball to actually bowl.
That's funny. I never noticed that. We even see Jesus lick a ball, which is disgusting.
We see Jesus do a lot of things with the balls that we wish we didn't. And some of those are the bowling balls, and some of those, unfortunately, are not the bowling balls.
Yes.
So
some of the bowling balls they have in there are legendary, too.
Okay.
Yeah. So they did use the balls that were popular at that time.
Yeah.
To kind of showcase it. The companies probably paid money, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But, they were prevalent at the time.
The cigar check, Mike, where are you at? I think I'm about halfway. I'm just about to peel off the label, which is phenomenal, by the way. It's got bowling pins and White Russians and sunglasses on it.
Yep. Yeah, this label is fantastic. I'm not quite halfway. I'm like more like 2/3.
Well, 2/3 is more than half.
Not 2/3, 1/3. I'm sorry.
I know, I'm with you. You know, that Burger King was trying to introduce a 1/3 pound burger.
Really?
But Americans thought it was smaller than a 1/4 pound. So it didn't sell. And that's true. That's a true thing. Like they couldn't, like fractions. We don't do it.
That is awful. So it's still spicy.
Am I
haven't
wrong?
noticed any flavor change. No, you're not wrong. No, people are dumb. Really, really dumb.
The best part of that movie is I can just kind of like loudly announce, "Am I wrong?" No, I agree with you, Mike. If anything, the spice is kind of mellowed out a little bit, but it might just be because I'm pairing it with the White Russian and the sweetness of that.
The White Russian definitely dampers that high note of spice down, and it really kind of makes it mellow, like almost buttery.
It's a phenomenal pairing.
Oh, for sure. I won't complain about it. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, it's
this is a lighter wrapper that is spicy. That's pretty rare.
It is rare. I think the Christoph, Connecticut we did?
Mm-hmm.
That one was, if I remember correctly, it was fairly spicy. Maybe not to this level, but it did have some spice.
Yeah, this is, so far I can recommend. We'll see how it finishes, but for the wrapper alone, I would buy this if I saw it at the store.
Oh, yeah, and our listener, Matt, got this. They had a promo deal, and so you got a box of these plus a bathrobe.
That is fucking awesome.
Yeah. So I don't know what it ran, but fucking awesome. We'll have to see if I can get him to like put a picture up or something and tag us in it on Instagram or whatever. But I don't know where he got it from, but I'm sure if you look up Espinosa the Dude, you can find that promo somewhere still. I'm sure they've got a warehouse full of the robes, you know.
Right. Made somewhere in a country that we don't want to talk about.
This aggression will not stand.
Man. Oh, man. There is a ton of one-liners in this film.
Oh, it's very quotable.
Very quotable. So, where were we? Oh, yeah. Lebowski eventually makes it to, let's call him not Hugh Hefner's house. Not Larry Flint, not Hugh Hefner.
No.
He's like a porno magnet.
Oh, yeah. But what the fuck was his name, though?
I don't recall.
In there. It was something with a T, I thought.
Yeah, it was a story that didn't go nowhere, but it was just to explore whether or not he was
Jackie
responsible.
Treehorn, man. He went to Jackie Treehorn's place.
Yeah, because Bunny, of course, was an adult actress on the side.
Yeah, in all these pornos with the nihilists.
Mm-hmm. So the question was Jackie Treehorn behind this scam? And I think they proved that he was not behind the scam.
I think they call him the main antagonist of the movie here on his little like villains Wikipedia. He's the overarching antagonist of the film.
I don't know if that's true because he drugged the dude and got him arrested by the Malibu police for sure.
Yeah, that seems pretty antagonistic to me, man.
I think that the nihilists were acting independently of Jackie Treehorn because they're the ones that like burned down. The
nihilists were in the film too, though, dude. They were in the pornos.
Well, I know, man, but that doesn't mean that they were working directly for Jackie Treehorn, does it?
Well,
I mean, I don't know. It's kind of left in the air. I don't think it was ever explicitly said that they were working at the behest of Jackie Treehorn. You would think that he at least would know that the Big Lebowski lived at a certain address and he wouldn't have sent the nihilists to harass the dude.
Well, but I think maybe he did. Well, maybe not. I don't know. It says Bunny wound up borrowing money from all over town, including from Treehorn. When Bunny did not pay Treehorn back, he sent 2 of his thugs to rough up Bunny's husband, but they went to the dude instead of Jeff. So he was the main guy, and those 2 guys peed on his rug.
Sure.
It was Wu, the Chinaman Wu. Remember? That was the reason. Wu was an Asian American.
Yeah, he was an Asian American. How dare you call him Chinaman?
Hey, man. Walter corrected the dude, and Walter corrected me, okay? He's not wrong.
He's not wrong.
And but we have to talk about Larry Sellers, too.
Mm-hmm.
Because Walter was wrong in one instance. Is they tracked the money down, I don't know how, to this Larry Sellers kid.
They found his homework shoved in the seat.
They found his homework in the car from the thing. And then they went out and found his house, and there was a brand new car, like a Corvette or something, right? Like a fancy car. And then they were trying to shake this Larry kid down like a high school student, right? In front of his parents, but he wouldn't talk. And then Walter went out and started breaking every single window and headlight on this car. And it turned out to be one of the neighbor's cars.
That's right.
So then the neighbor came out and fucking smashed the dude's car, which already couldn't open the driver's side door and smelled of like shit and excrement and stuff. And
yeah. Oh, that's right. And then Jackie Treehorn did know it because that's why he wanted to talk to the dude. Was to find out where the money
and the dude
is.
Was
and
like, look, man, the money's at Larry Seller's place. The kid. Yep. We can get him to crack if we go back, or something like that. And then he spiked the thing, and that's when one of the better, well, they're all good, right? They're all good segments, but the gutter ball sequence.
Yes, gutter balls. That's great.
Which is fantasy in the dude's mind with Maude. And like a full-on, very cheesy, not unattractive, but cheesy, like Vikings outfit, and a whole bunch of sexual innuendos with bowling balls and bowling pins. And
going down the lane. And
down the lane.
Bowling themed music video. Let's call it that.
No, it's not a music video. Here's what it is. This is my other bit of trivia. There is he's a film director and a choreographer. And he was born in 1895 and he died in 1976. But he made a ton of movies in the 40s and 50s that had these very elaborate musical production numbers that had a lot of complex geometric patterns, oftentimes made out of scantily clad women. Their legs, their arms, they had these phenomenal headdresses on them. The guy's name is Busby Berkeley. And if you've seen any of those films, Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers, some of those type of films, right? The dancing and the musical numbers, all of these things. All you have to do is go and look up Busby Berkeley Kaleidoscope Dance, some of the other sequences, and you'll see instantly that this gutter ball sequence was an homage to this guy and his crazy geometric. And he did this stuff back when the cameras were massive. And he was putting cameras underneath women's legs, going through them just like they do in gutter balls, right?
Oh, sure. That's funny. That's definitely a Coen Brothers thing to make
oh, hell yeah.
references to other films and other...
Only a film nerd would do that or get that, so...
Right. Especially in 1998.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. And then when the dude was coming home from Malibu, because this is where the pornographer lived, is Malibu, and the sheriffs arrest him, rough him up, and kick him out of Malibu. And that's when he gets
here.
Yeah, he gets in the vehicle with like a cab driver dressed like New Jack from New Jack City, like Wesley Snipes is what he reminded me of.
Oh, yeah.
And he was listening to the Eagles.
I fucking hate the Eagles.
I fucking hate the Eagles, man. You get the fuck out of my car. And he gets kicked out in the middle of the highway for hating the Eagles.
When does he end up calling Walter on Shabbos?
It was after that because he needed a ride.
Yeah, he needed a ride from Malibu Beach or wherever the fuck.
Yep.
Right?
He's like, it's got to be a dire emergency, dude.
And he's like, it is. And then Walter's like, well, that's why I picked up, because I knew it was, or something. Because they're not even supposed to pick up the phone on Shabbos.
Oh, my. And this is the days of the answering machines. So the dude's answering machine goes off just constantly. He never answers the phone.
Oh, yeah. Well, why would he? They're all collectors.
They are all debt collectors or
not all of them, but it's funny because it's, what's his name? Philip Seymour Hoffman's character. Right.
Yep.
He's like, after, because so the Big Lebowski is like, no, man, I'm not gonna recompense your rug or something. I'm not gonna reimburse that. You go pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And then the dude's like, oh, okay, man. And he leaves, and Philip Seymour comes up and he's like, hey, how'd that go? And he's like, good. He said I could take any rug I wanted in the house. And that's why he ended up actually meeting Maude, because the rug he chose was the rug that Maude got her father for some thing, right? And so that one had emotional value to her, and she was like, pick any rug other than that rug, or whatever.
Right.
And that was the whole reason he even met Maude, and that whole thing even happened. But then there was a lot of like Philip Seymour Hoffman playing the nervous like business person type, where he's like, yeah, we've got a proposition for you. We're not worried about the rug at all. You keep the rug. We're happy you have the rug. We're not worried about the rug.
And Philip Seymour Hoffman calls him the dude.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious.
Oh, it's so funny.
That's right, dude. We want your help.
Do you want to know my favorite scene / sequence of events, maybe in the entire film?
Let's hear it.
Okay. So the dude gets back to his apartment, and he's done because there's been 2 or 3 times now people have kicked in his door. So he goes and he grabs himself like a 2x4 or something. It's not quite a 2x4. It's like, I don't know what, a 1x2 or something. And he's spending all this time. He's got all these nails. He's pounded all these nails into this strip of wood on his floor, to prevent the door from kicking in. And he's doing it. And then somebody opens the door because it opens out instead of in. So he's been nailing it wrong the whole time. And that's funny enough in itself. But then later in the film, he rushes into his apartment and trips over it and falls. And that's classic comedy. My favorite bit in the whole thing, because it's so small, it's not overstated. It's subtly done, in my opinion, especially nowadays with how they have to spell things out for you. But it was fucking hilarious.
Oh yeah, that's one of the joys of this film, is that it is an intelligent film that you have to pay attention to understand everything that's going on. And even then, there's so much going on that you really don't understand what's going on purpose. It is. Oh yeah. Purposefully complicated so that you just kind of fall into it and let it happen. Kind of like Sam Elliott showing up for no reason and drinking his Sioux City sarsaparilla.
Yeah.
Which I tried to find, and I could not find one in my area. So there we go.
I've had it. It's pretty decent.
I have had Sioux City sarsaparilla, and it is good, but I could not find one in any of my local places that sell pops.
Sarsaparilla?
Yes.
Not
shocking, but
sometimes you find those things in really weird places.
I know of a place in my area that sells it, but I wasn't willing to take the drive and do a hour-long round trip to go get it.
It wouldn't be hour-long to get it. A lot of these, where they have a lot of these kind of novelty sodas and things are kind of touristy towns or touristy streets or shops, right? So
yes.
You go into some touristy place, and they've just got kind of a cooler of them for no reason. I don't know why, but they do.
That's because the little kids love sugar, and they'll whine, and then their parents will get them that because it's cheap. And instead of
they get that, they might as well write the check for $1.67 instead of just the 67 cents for the soda, right?
Right, exactly. Yes. So that's actually the kind of store I was thinking of, but a very specific one.
Oh, sure. Got it.
That I know has it. I know it has to have it. So.
Yes.
Yeah. But anyway, so they get back to the bowling alley and they leave League. And of course the nihilists are there and they light the dude's car on fire.
Yeah.
And they get into a fight with the nihilists, and Donnie, Steve Buscemi's character, ends up getting killed. There's a whole sequence of events. Wasn't that the case?
I don't know that he didn't get killed.
Well, yeah, he died of a heart attack.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, I don't know, it'd maybe be manslaughter. I don't know that it would be straight out murder.
It wouldn't be murder.
It kind of depends. I don't know the legal definition of if you cause shock to somebody who has a condition. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, if it was
probably
a police
similar
officer
to
in Washington, D.C., it would be considered the T word and a travesty, and then they would talk about it on the news for the next 4 years.
And he was on our radar and everything like that, but...
Right.
I mean, it's similar to if you get into a bar fight and go to push or punch somebody and they fall and crack their head open on the bar, or the street curb or something and die. It wasn't the intent to kill them, but it happened. Right. So it's one of those fuzzy aspects of the law. But anyway, go on, Mike. We're not lawyers. Don't listen to us.
No, we're not lawyers. So they have
but
to...
it's complicated to talk about because it's they didn't necessarily set out to kill him.
No.
And I don't know that they actually did kill him, but they set into motion events that did kill him. So...
Right. And this is where the movie... This is really indicative of the whole movie. They go to the funeral home,
yeah,
which is a mansion, and it's all this crazy nonsense in there. Then, of course, they want to charge them just tons and tons of money, and they refuse to pay. So they end up taking Donnie home.
Most economical,
whatever.
It's
not a vase, but
container
container.
Something. Yeah.
Yeah. So somehow they convinced the funeral
receptacle.
home to...
It's our most economic receptacle for the remains.
Yeah, he was smiling that shit-eating grin like, ha ha ha, I get to steal your money.
Yeah, you're going to have to pay me something for this absolute terrible thing.
So they end up taking him home in a coffee can, of course.
Yes.
And then they try to spread the ashes, and of course, this is a famous scene. It ends up all over the dude.
Yeah, because Walter goes up to the cliff, and they're like, it was funny because you don't really know much about Donnie because he doesn't get to say much because every time he opens his mouth, Walter's like, shut the fuck up, Donnie. You don't know what you're talking about. Shut the fuck up. You know,
Yep.
So he doesn't really say a whole lot. And then at the end, it's like Walter gives him like a eulogy and he's like, he wanted to be buried here, we think, because he loves surfing so much. And we're like, what the fuck? We've never seen Donnie do anything other than bowl. And be interrupted by Walter. So it's funny because you don't know anything about the character. And then Walter's in the front and he dumps it over the cliff, but the wind is coming up over the cliff and doesn't blow it into Walter's face, but right into the dude. And of course the dude has a beard and they have a lot of fun with his beard with the White Russians and drinking and stuff like that too. So do you want to talk about the other PI for a bit?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Well, it's this guy following the dude, and he kind of notices him because he's driving, like, I don't know, a bright blue Volkswagen Beetle or something, right?
Yep.
And so the dude's like, quit following me, man. And it turns out it's like a PI. I don't remember who hired. He wasn't even hired, was he? He was just trying to, like,
I think he was hired by Maude to watch him.
Okay.
And then he was under the impression that the dude was a PI, and he was really
he was
impressed.
Under the impression... Yeah, with how he was piecing everything together. And but I don't know that he was really hired by Maude. Maybe he was. I know Maude, because one of Maude's people hit the dude or knocked the dude out. And Maude wanted him to go to this doctor. And he's like, oh, no, it's fine. And so he finally goes and he gets like the full workup because she wants to conceive a baby. And so she sleeps with Lebowski after he comes back being clean and having strong swimmers or something. And then he was like, oh, that's why the doctor's physical was more...
So thorough.
So thorough.
Yep. No, it's great. He's got to be messed up because he's constantly smoking doobies and drinking White Russians throughout the whole film.
Yeah, man.
Like constantly.
I know people like that though, and they're perfectly functioning most of the time. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure.
So
for sure.
As long as they don't have anger issues, because I think that's where it kind of goes off the rails. If you're not like a happy-go-lucky drunk, or if you don't know how to just maintain a certain level of drunkenness, then it becomes an issue. It's still, right. I think it's still an issue. I'm not advocating that you should go out and try and, sustain a BAC of a certain level, but people do it, and they're not like the angry alcoholics that beat their wives or get into fist fights and bar fights and things like that. But, they got stuff they can't abide.
That's just like your opinion, man.
So I think why I like this film an awful lot. It's funny, it's irreverent, it has, callbacks to older movies, other movies made by people that actually know how to make films.
Yeah, it's a film made for people who want to watch a film.
Yes. They give you just enough details through the thing, but the beauty of the whole thing is a lot of the time you're just kind of feeling like the dude. And you're like, well, that just happened. Okay, where are we going from here? And then you don't really, you can't piece it together until Walter is like, no, man, that's not her toe. That's not her toe. What's the same shade of toenail polish? That's not her toe. So...
Yeah, so literally, and I guess we'll spoil the end for everybody, Bunny was just off whoring around, disappeared, didn't tell anybody. Yeah. And then the nihilists knew this, so they faked a abduction and turned in a fake toe.
Yes. And the bigger twist is the Big Lebowski knew this as well, because it turns out he doesn't have any money, and he was spending the foundation's money, the $1 million. And so he put the fake money in the thing because he wanted to pocket the $1 million. So he also knew it was a fake thing. And he just wanted to pocket the $1 million because his allowance from Maude, or from the wife that died, right, and set up the foundations, he wanted more of his allowance or something. And he was playing big at the beginning of the film with giving Bunny an allowance to live on, which he probably was, right? But he was trying to pretend like a big successful businessman, and here he is. He doesn't have any controlling interest in any of the foundations. He can't do anything. He hasn't made anything of himself by himself. He's only there because his ex-wife put him there, or his dead wife, whatever. I don't know what happened, but
she died. Yeah.
But so he was trying to run a scam on everybody too, and so that's why he wanted Big Lebowski, or not Big Lebowski. He wanted the dude to do everything, because here's some like stoner loser guy that's going to go give the money or whatever, and then he's going to take the fall for it because it's a fake. It's not even real money in there. It's a phone book or something, right? So he's going to go give them fake money. They're going to kill the dude, which is going to just get this guy away from the Big Lebowski, because the Big Lebowski is repulsed by the dude. And it's a win-win, because then the Big Lebowski gets the extra $1 million.
Right. Yeah, it was a big workaround.
Yeah.
And then the dude ends up worse off for interacting with any of these people, other than getting to sleep with Maude. I guess that's his one.
I mean, that's got to be a win, right? I mean, you have the whole gutterball dream sequence, so.
Yeah, I mean, Julianne Moore is a very attractive woman, so he got something out of it.
Yeah, and, weird naked zipline painting aside,
Right.
you can be scared and aroused, it's a thing.
Yeah, for sure. In the case of Jeff Lebowski, for sure.
Yeah. The dude abides, man. Yeah,
and
it's funny because the bowling is so integral to Walter and Walter's motivations. And when the last scene of the movie, Sam Elliott's back there again, and he's complimenting the dude on he likes his get up and stuff, and the dude is like, "Yeah, man, I dig your style too." And
he likes the cut of his jib, my friend.
Yes. And which is exactly what a cowboy would say, right? Because they use jibs all the time to go across the desert and shit. So, but they don't even tell us if they end up winning the tournament or not.
No.
Which is hilarious, and also 100% in line with the rest of the film. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
It's of pivotal importance to Walter that they compete in this thing, and everybody's there for the thing, but then they're back at the bowling alley, and that's just the end of the movie. So there you go.
Yep. Back in the day when bowling alley bars were places where people would actually go to drink.
Yes, indeed. Where you at with your stick, Mike? I got maybe 2 inches left, and it's getting a little not pleasant.
I got 2.5 left, something like that. It's okay. I mean, I'm still good. I've been smoking it a lot slower than you, abnormally.
Yeah, abnormally so. But also abnormally, my White Russian is gone, man.
Mine is as well.
This aggression will not stand.
Yeah.
I need a mod to come back and fix me a Caucasian.
Yeah. So the reason why I knew Bunny was from Moorhead is because she was a runaway, apparently.
Yeah.
So the insinuation...
And they showed a picture. They showed a picture of her homestead, and wasn't the dude like, "Oh, make anyone homesick" or something? Because it was like a flat open field and a barn.
Yeah,
it's like the worst looking photo ever of anything. It wasn't even of like a cow. It was just a flat, desolate field with a barn on it.
That is correct. And it does look just like the farmland outside of Moorhead, because Moorhead is part of the Red River Valley, and that is not the flattest place on earth, but it's adjacent.
It's flat adjacent.
Yeah, it's pretty boring.
Get all your economical receptacles in Moorhead.
Yeah. So I thought that was great. So anyway, the insinuation was that Bunny was underage. I'm going to guess. Because you can't be a runaway and be 18. So, which is hilarious.
Yeah,
it makes
we
it
don't
even
know
better.
how old we don't know how old she was at the time of the events in the film.
Right.
Necessarily. But we can pretty much imply that when she married the Big Lebowski, she was potentially underage.
Yes. Which adds even more. And she was too drunk. Well, she drunkenly crashed her car at the entryway of the...
I remember that. Yeah, when she came back.
When she came back, yeah.
And then Philip Seymour Hoffman was like, "She returned and we're happy," or something like that. It was just... all of his lines were classic.
Oh, yeah.
Another one of those actors that you wish were still alive.
Oh, yeah. He was a gem, for sure. And it's crazy when you look at the budget, because it was a relatively low-budget film.
Yeah.
And the number of actors who were very famous that
Yes.
clearly wanted to be in it.
Yes.
That was a
lot of
different
people, I mean, it was a different era, and that was an era when you could make a name for yourself as a director or director team, as these are, and people would actually want to work with you because your films were so different,
right.
And think like early Tarantino. And you could say what you want about Tarantino. Some people still think he's the greatest thing ever. I like a lot of his films, but I don't know. Hateful Eight, I didn't like as much as I liked Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but I don't like either of those as much as I like Inglourious Bastards or Kill Bill or Reservoir Dogs. You know what I mean? Or Pulp Fiction. So
I've never
say
seen
what you will.
The Hateful Eight or Kill Bill. But I did see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
You need another Caucasian man.
Yeah, I know. I've had one, and it's like too many.
Am I wrong?
Man. So it's got Jeff Bridges, John Goodman, Julianne Moore, Steve Buscemi, David Huddleston, who is the Big Lebowski.
Yeah, Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah, Turturro, John Seymour Hoffman, Sam Elliott, Julianne Moore, Tara Reid, David Thewlis, Flea, Peter Stormare. I think Peter Stormare is the guy. Yeah, Peter Stormare was the guy from Fargo.
Okay, sure, yeah.
Yeah. And it's like all these famous people, and they made it for $15 million back in the day. Now it'd be a $200 million.
Oh, easily, and they'd
film.
have to make it. And what was the runtime on Big Lebowski? Do you happen to have that up if you're looking at stats?
Yeah, I'll check it out. 117 minutes.
Yeah, so just shy of 2 hours. And if you made it today, it would be a 2.5. I mean, for that budget and that star power, it'd have to be like a 2.5, 3 hour long movie. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. And it'd have CGI
I feel.
instead of having like actual artistry, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, let's be fair. There weren't a whole lot of stunts required for the film, but the gutterball sequence needed quite a bit of choreography for sure.
Right.
Yeah, and there was some, pyrotechnics, but outside of that, there wasn't really like gunfights or fistfights or anything that needed overly drastic. No. But it was an exciting film still, so.
The ferret that they called a marmot.
I know, I love that. Like a marmot. Oh, and I love the fact that the dude is just straight up taking a bath.
Oh, he's drinking a Caucasian, smoking a doob. Smoking a doob. Got to have a roach clip and a doobie,
Oh, yeah.
And I always like how his joints are always like right at the end. Like you never see him light one.
No, he's not.
They're already lit and already to the bottom. Like they're already cashed.
Like he could be like the Roger Miller, in King of the Road, trailers for sale or rent, smoking old stogies that I have found or whatever, people picking stuff up, smoking them from the street. Not that you'd find a whole bunch of doobies in the street, but he was in California, so.
Right.
You never know, man.
No, it's great. And the Jesus is epic.
Yeah, the Jesus. I was going to say, though, this type of film I really enjoy because it's not really, I don't know that you would call it a quest film. It's kind of a quest film. Like he's just kind of there and he's an unwilling participant mostly throughout the quest. He gets motivations throughout the quest to see it through, but it's kind of a quest film. It doesn't take place in like one night, it takes place over time. But another one of the films that I really liked that's similar to that is, holy shit, it was just in my head. And you know what, kids? That's what drinking a double Caucasian will do to you.
Right.
Oh, After Hours. After Hours is a 1985 film, and I believe it's a Scorsese film, and it's got, I'm just fucking pulling it up. Yeah, Martin Scorsese, and it stars Griffin Dunn and Rosanna Arquette, and Tommy Chong is in it. Julie Garr is in it, and she plays a phenomenal role. But it's basically like he goes to visit a friend or somebody, and then he has to spend all night trying to get back home. And so the film takes place over one night, and his quest is he's got to get back home. And it's kind of like a slice of life or like a quest type of film. And he meets these like absolute ridiculous people trying to get back home. And there's people that offer to try and help him, like a la Walter, that end up creating more trouble for him, a la Walter. So it's a very kind of like niche type of movie, but I very much enjoy them because it's so kind of surreal almost. That's probably the best word. It's kind of like a surreal, almost like nightmare, like Eyes Wide Shut is kind of like that a little bit.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of films from this era that were like that.
Yeah, and I love that style of film because it's very like atmospheric and moody. Not that this one's super duper moody, but it's got its own kind of like vibe and
this is when you could
intrigue.
go and see a film at the movie theater for like $4, $5, and they would let you. Basically, anybody could go in and watch a rated R movie. They weren't. They didn't care.
It was the
at least
90s,
not at my local
man.
theater. They didn't give a shit.
No, I've never been fucking carded at a movie theater.
No, either have I.
Never, ever.
Yeah.
And nowadays, even with the online stuff, if you look old enough and you buy the ticket online, and what does it ask you? When's your birthday? Just like all the naughty sites, the gutterball sites. You know, when's your birthday? Or even just to bring it more relevant, cigar sites. If you want to go on pipesandcigars.com or Cigars Daily or any Rocky Patel website or Espinosa website, they ask you, are you over 21? It's a yes, no. Yep, I'm over 21 for sure. Let me look at all these cigars, man.
You have to do that to go to sporting goods websites now, too.
What?
I was recently on Cabela's.com, and they had an age verification to be on there, which is crazy.
Do they have to do that on websites for sex reassignment surgery?
Oh, I don't want to talk about that. There weren't any beautiful ladies.
I meant ear piercing sites. Tanning bed sites, man. Tanning beds.
We did forget one actress that everybody would know that was in it, which was Asia Carrera was in it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Who's... well, all the listeners know who that is, but anyone who doesn't, she was one of the hot chicks from the 90s in a lot of movies.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's people you would recognize.
Yeah,
Even if you don't know any of the names we're telling you. Hopefully you know some of them, but if you don't, that's no big deal. But you would definitely recognize them.
Oh, yeah.
The other interesting tidbit that I know about the film is a lot of the dude's wardrobe came from Jeff Bridges' personal closet.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. That's hilarious.
Yeah. So they saved a lot of money on costuming, you know.
Yeah, a movie like this, it would be made, but it wouldn't be made by a major studio and released to theater. It would be like Sharks in the Corn kind of shit.
Yep. Well, which is great. If you haven't seen Sharks in the Corn, you should watch it. But another, like, the 90s had a lot of these really good flicks like this, like Something About Mary.
Yep.
Which is also one you wouldn't really, because they have a whole, like, truck stop gay sex thing in there, right? So you're not going to get that kind of stuff these days. They're more, they're not trying to be offensive. They're just trying to be irreverent, I guess, is maybe more so, I think, the motivation.
Right. It's comedy through the lens of something that's different and outrageous and something that most people are not going to really, they know about it, but not directly. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, they've heard about it, or they've heard like, exaggeration is a key component in a lot of comedy. And I know a lot of like stand-up comics recently of late have kind of gotten thrown under their bus because they're exaggerating their stories for comedic effect. And they're like, well, that didn't actually truly happen. He's exaggerating that. That's the whole point of comedy. That's the point. Like, it's not supposed to really happen necessarily.
It is not the literal truth.
And so, like, you know, in the 90s or whatever, the truck stops were like, but this is before same-sex marriage was legalized and stuff. And it was still, you know, it was the height of the Satanic Panic, which we talked about on the show, previous episode. And so truck stops being homosexual hotbeds was kind of a sensationalized media story. And Something About Mary kind of took that as a comedic gag in the thing to shock the probably upper middle class white people, right? Who've never been to a truck stop, and kind of, you know, give them something to laugh at or something. I don't know what, or to shock them, you know, who knows what. It's not one of those films trying to make people comfortable.
Yeah. Truck stops were shady at that time. Just like bowling alleys were
also,
shady
Cameron
at that
Diaz
time.
takes jizz and spikes your hair with it. So, you know,
right,
I mean, humor was definitely more allowable back then, let's say.
Yeah, it wasn't supposed to be literally true, right? Like, you can't punch down and be funny. Like, okay.
Yeah. Well, and what's his name? In Something About Mary, the guy that was pretending to be using the crutches, right, to walk.
Oh, yeah.
He was pretending to be disabled, which is now would get you canceled.
Oh, for sure. For
Right.
sure.
So, I mean, it's not one of those films that's like run by the DEI censors or what have you.
Well, Tom Hanks recently said that he regrets doing Philadelphia. And it's like,
But he didn't mention Bosom Buddies, entire TV show where he and his cohort dressed up as women to live in the female apartments because it was cheaper than living in the man apartments. But Philadelphia, he has a problem with. Oh, we watched the whole series. It was great. It was funny as fuck. Bosom Buddies, one of Tom Hanks' first roles. He and his partner cross-dressed to live in the, not for nefarious reasons other than the female apartments. It was a female-only apartment. And it was significantly cheaper than any other apartment in town. And so they decided to dress up as women and take on these female names. And so the whole thing is hilarious because they have to, when their neighbors come over, they have to put up back on their, get up and pretend to like gossip and do all the female stuff. And then, of course, like some of the women find out that they're men and they help them go along with this so that the superintendent of the building doesn't find out that they're men.
Sure.
But I can't believe he would say he regrets doing Philadelphia and not even bring up Bosom Buddies.
That's fucking hilarious. That reminds me of the people who attacked the Bud Light commercials back in the day for having the guys that dressed up as women for ladies' night.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
well, and now, like, isn't ladies' night, you can't do ladies' nights anymore because they finally decided that was actually sexist?
I think that they canceled ladies' night because men stopped going to the bars on ladies' night.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it was.
And ladies
like,
don't really go to bars a whole lot. I mean, in the same droves that men do.
Right. Yeah, the concept behind ladies' night was to get the women in the bar, and then the men would come in and buy drinks.
Yeah.
And I think what ended up happening is that the men who are going to bars no longer go to bars to pick up women. So
yeah, because that's, well, I don't want to say it's the dumbest thing to do, but there's better places to pick up women than the bar.
Yeah, it's risk. That's high risk behavior in modern society. So,
well, I think it's probably always been high risk behavior, but it's less acceptable now.
Right. It was normalized high risk behavior at one time, and now it is frowned upon.
Yes.
The risks to the man are well known. Let's put it that way.
Yes. And even the risks to the women, in some extent, right?
Oh,
like,
well, yeah, there's definitely risks for women.
If you're going to pick up people at a bar, it doesn't, I mean, gender does make a difference, but if you're going to a bar to pick up a lover, let's say, it's just kind of a high risk behavior because you don't know what the other one is like, or if it's, lots of different things. I don't know. I don't do that. I've not done that. I've never picked up a woman from a bar, so.
I have picked up a woman that I met at a bar, but not picking her up at the bar. We started our conversation at a bar.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't
it wasn't one of these newfangled one-night stand type of things.
No, it was not a one-night stand situation. I knew her because we both went to the same bar.
Yes.
Not because...
I've seen you in here before. What's a woman like you doing in a bar like this?
Yes, yeah. She worked at the bar.
You must bowl. You must bowl. For this is a bowling alley and only secondarily a bar.
Yes. Something like that.
Mike, am I wrong? Am I wrong?
No, you're not.
I'm just kidding. I'm just fucking with you.
We were both there. And not because we were there to pick somebody up at the bar.
No, you wanted to pick up the 8 and 9 pin from your previous roll, right? So.
I wanted to throw heavy balls around.
Yes, I don't roll on Shabbos.
I did like the picture that I took of the cigar in my bowling ball's mouth.
Oh man, it was great. I loved all your pictures. It took me a while to realize there was a doobie in all of them.
Yes, there's a doobie and a hair clip.
Because I was mostly like, I fucking hate the Eagles because you put a big Eagles vinyl down. I didn't even think about that. I have Eagles vinyl sitting right by where I took the picture. But I was like, I got to get my bowling ball for sure. I got to get the White Russian and the cigar in there. And the rug, of course. So you definitely threw more from the movie into your picture than I did in mine.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, I have a hair clip for bowling. Just like the dude.
Yes. Yeah, man.
So I had to go down to my bowling bag and grab my ball and my fucking hair clip.
Yeah. What was the track he was listening to in the car when he was pounding on the roof?
Oh,
it was
I
Creedence.
don't know.
It was Creedence.
It was Creedence, yeah, because he had a Creedence tape stuck in his car.
Creedence cassette, and he made that in the police report. And Yeah, and that one police guy, he was in Boston Legal as one of the lawyers, the taller German-looking one. But he's been in a lot of other films too, and I like that actor. So there's definitely big names in here, and even
like I say,
secondary names. So
this is the kind of movie that just doesn't get made anymore because it had all these people who they wanted to be in the movie so they could be in the movie. It had nothing to do with making money.
Yeah. But I think like if you took the residuals right on all the stuff, like you would have come out ahead because The Big Lebowski is hands down like a cult classic.
Oh, it's in the Library of Congress. Like, yeah, man, it's
so is Song of the South, man.
Well, it won an Academy Award, so
yeah,
and it had the two first African Americans who ever won an Academy Award in it.
Yeah.
So
hell yeah.
I know we've talked about that endlessly about how I find that problematic. Well, what do I know, right? That's just my opinion.
Well, that should be out. I mean, that's what I mean. It should have a nice restoration on Disney Plus is what it should have. Like, why hide behind it? There's nothing. Well, we talked about it. We have a whole episode on it. Go listen to that.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit more about the cigar because I'm about to that point where I'm thinking about stopping it.
I have 1.25 inches left and it's getting sour.
Yep. See, so when I had about the 2 inches, give or take, it was sour. I kind of slowed down and it's like I'm still smoking it, but I really shouldn't be because like my mouth kind of has that, puckery taste to it. So I think this definitely kind of falls into the Gurkha category where the end, like the last bit of it, is not ideal. I don't know if slowing down would... Oh, go on, Mike.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't know if like smoking the last bit slower would fix it. I know that for over 2/3 of it, up until the last 2 inches, it was really good, especially if you pair it with a White Russian. I love the spice at the beginning, really like it. It's really, really good. The last little bit, not a huge fan of the last couple inches. We've had that before in cigars. It's not unusual. It's not uncommon. So
I smoked it slower than you, so the bitterness didn't really come in until probably 1.5 inches, maybe 1.25 inches. It had a nice spice to it. I was really impressed with that flavor profile. And I was also impressed that it paired with a White Russian. So they definitely put some thought into it. Also,
they did.
The wrapper is just...
Oh, it's so beautiful.
Awesome. Yeah, it is great. And I like a good package for sure.
Mike loves the package.
Mm-hmm.
It is basically, if you took all of the stuff from the gutter ball, like mind sequence, fantasy sequence, and could put it into a wrapper that evoked the feel of the movie, like it's got the, it's an off-white, it's like a beige wrapper. I took a close-up picture for the Instagram, and it's all earth tones. It's like a yellow, a brown, and I don't know, is it kind of a red maybe? There's a little bit of red in there or something.
These are the colors of bowling alleys that were built in the 1970s. Like, so that is the color.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they're able to do this. I'm glad they can call it what they call it. There's probably a reason they don't call it the Big Lebowski because they don't want to go the same way as the consigliere, the CAO consigliere with the Sopranos, because they had to rename and kind of rebrand that cigar. I think they called it the Sopranos cigar or something.
They did, yeah.
So I'm glad that they did this in a way that either they worked it out with the filmmakers. I don't know that the filmmakers would honestly care, but again, it's more the studios and less the actual filmmakers, the lawyers and stuff who have the rights to the things. But
right.
I don't know. If you see these and you like the Big Lebowski, you like White Russians every once in a while, you don't have to love them all the time. I'd recommend it. I see you gave it a 4 and I gave it a 4 as well. So this is definitely a good stick.
Yeah, I recommend it. And if I see it if I saw this in a lounge, I would buy it for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
It is a recommend on my part.
Yes. Thank you, Matt, for giving us these cigars to smoke. And hopefully you and all of our other listeners enjoyed a little walk down memory lane with the Big Lebowski. Thanks for listening.
Be safe. Have fun.